Mindset, a daily dose of practical wit and wisdom with a professional educator and trainer, Amazon best-selling author, United States Marine, television and radio host, Paul G. Markle. Each episode will focus on positive and productive ways to strengthen your mindset and help you improve your relationships, career goals, and overall well-being. Please welcome your host, Paul G. Markle.
Hello and welcome back. And is that not the most motivating music you could possibly hear early in the morning? I think it is. That's why we chose it. Welcome back to Morning Mindset. Now, if it seems like I have a lot of stories to tell, it's because I do. I've got 3-4 decades worth of storytelling built up of different experiences, and I want to share some of those with you. For instance, when I was a young teenager, I graduated from high school, and then I got a full-time job, and things were going well. I had a full-time job, 40 hours a week. I had benefits. It wasn't what I wanted to do for a career or a living, but it was a good job. However, I wanted a little bit more. I wanted something more. And back in the 1980s, distance learning or correspondence wasn't as relevant, or it wasn't as prevalent, should I say, as it is today. Because back then there was no internet. We had telephones and we had the U.S. mail service. But I started taking classes via correspondence from a school that had correspondence training, and then you would travel to do residency training under the watchful eye of professional instructors. And so I started doing that. I signed up. I got my books and my 3-ring binders and my test material, and I studied, and I submitted the tests. I mailed them back, and then they mailed me back the results. I know. Can you imagine that in today's world? Completing a written paper test, putting it in an envelope, and mailing it away, waiting a week or so, maybe even more, to get the results? Whew. I know, folks, talking about, you don't know the struggle. Well, once I had completed that, it was time for me to take my residency training. And I was living in Ohio at the time, and the residency training was in Colorado. And so what I had to do is I had to get myself a plane ticket, and I had to get myself out there and take the residency training. And when I did that, I was the ripe old age of 19. Yes, I was 19 years old when I did this. And that was my first real big experience traveling to another state on my own, without my family, without my mom or dad saying, hey, you should go here, or you should do this. It was all me. No one told me I had to do it. No one paid for it for me. I saved my money. I saved up my nickels and dimes, and I went and I did it. I got out of my little pond and I started seeing the world. And that's something that I'm going to tell you. I'm going to give that advice to you. Now, I'm guessing that many of you are older than you're listening to me, and you have done that. You've traveled to other states, maybe even other countries. But if you're a younger person and you have not done that yet, you need to do that thing. Take the time to get out and see the world. Travel to other states, travel to other countries, get out of your little pond and gain some experience. Now, as a person who conducts training, I quite frequently run into people or questions from potential students who will say, well, you're there, and I live here, and there's a lot of distance, there's 1,000 miles or 800 or whatever. When are you going to be in my area teaching a class? Or I've heard many times from potential students, well, if you ever come to me, if you ever travel to my area, I'll take a class from you. And I'm going to tell you this, if you're one of those people, if you think, oh, well, yeah, I'd really like to take this class or this training, or I'd really like to learn this, but there's no one in my area that teaches that. But if they ever travel to where I am, then I'll do it. That's wrong-minded thinking. That is wrong-minded thinking, and I'm going to tell you why. In addition to getting the education and experience from the training class, you're also getting the value, and it's a value that you really can't put a price on, of leaving your little pond, your little comfortable area. And I know that you're comfortable in your hometown, and that's great. We all get comfortable in our hometowns. But you need to get out there, experience the world, travel, leave your little pond behind, and get a new perspective on life. I've encountered people throughout my life who have done that, who have stayed in their town. I've met people who were born in one area and they grew up there and they stayed there their whole lives. And they assume because they were born wherever it was, they grew up, went to high school, got out of high school, got a job there, raised a family there, they assume that the whole rest of the world functions like their little small pond does. They assume that that's the way it is. And that's not necessarily the case. And what you need to do is you need to get out of your little comfortable pond. You need to expand your horizons, and you need to see how things are done other places. Now, maybe you travel and you'll say, man, this place stinks. This place is crap, and I would never live here. Fantastic. Now at least you have something to compare it to. But you may be thinking that your little pond is the best place in the world and it has the most to offer you, until you go somewhere else and you realize that there are greater opportunities outside of your own little pond. How does a fish grow? And you say, well, what do you mean? How does a fish grow? It grows by feeding it. Have you ever seen goldfish in a little tiny goldfish bowl? I'm sure that you have. Even if you never had goldfish, you probably have seen them, right? Do you know if you take a goldfish and you put it from a little tiny, sitting on top of your dresser goldfish bowl to, let's say, a 5-gallon aquarium, and you keep feeding it like you have, do you know that the goldfish will grow? Yes, it will. And if you take it and you put it in an even larger tank, it will grow even larger. But it can't grow when it's in that little tiny bowl. It can only grow so much. It only has so much room. And so it won't get larger. I've encountered goldfish that were 6, 8, almost 10 inches long, and they were goldfish. Because why? Well, because they were moved from that little tiny bowl out into a great big goldfish pond where they had lots of room. If you want to grow in your life, eventually, once in a while, you need to leave that little comfortable pond behind, and you need to get out in their world, experience it, and do a little bit of growing. So don't be afraid. If you really, really, really want to take a training class, you want to learn something new, I don't know what it is. You want to learn how to drive race cars or, motorcycles or whatever. But that race car driving school is 180 miles away, or it's in 3 states over, or what have you. Well, if it's a worthwhile experience, you should be making the trip. Don't be afraid to get out of your little pond and grow. All right, kids, that's it for today. I am your host, Paul Markle, and I'll talk to you again real soon.
Thank you for spending time with us today. To get show notes, submit a topic request, and for more from your host, Paul G. Markle, visit morningmindsetpodcast.com. That's morningmindsetpodcast.com. Please leave a review for this podcast on your favorite podcast player. We appreciate your time and effort, and we look forward to reading your honest feedback.